How can the NFL say they investigated the Watson situation and present 4 or 5 cases when a publication like the New York Times found 66? When the Texans had to settle with 30 women all related to the Watson situation and 10 criminal cases the police detective believed he was guilty of. And this is one of the big flaws in the NFL's effort to create its own justice system. Now, we know that the NFL spoke ultimately to 12 of the women with accusations against Deshaun Watson. There were 24 lawsuits that were filed against him. The Texans settlement, 30, suggests that there are 6 others out there that either will sue Deshaun Watson or, we won't know this if it happened, settled pre-suit any claims with Deshaun Watson. That's possible as well. But we know there's 30. We know that 24 sued. The NFL spoke to 12. And at the end of the day, the NFL presented 4 accusers at the hearing. Now, the 5th, I'm told, was based upon a media report. That's not evidence. You try to go to court by, in lieu of calling a witness, handing the judge a newspaper and saying, read the article above the fold, that's not evidence. No matter how well the article is written, no matter how properly sourced and vetted the story is, that is not evidence in a judicial or quasi-judicial proceeding, which this clearly is. So, the NFL had 4 accusers. The NFL had a 5th that they tried to jam in through a media report. That was disregarded, that's my understanding, by Judge Robinson. So you got 4. So how do you get from 24 to 4? Here's the problem. I knew I'd eventually get back around to the point. The NFL has no subpoena power. We've talked a lot about subpoenas recently as it relates to Dan Snyder and his yacht. The NFL doesn't have the power to issue a subpoena to anyone who doesn't work for the league. The NFL can't force anyone who isn't employed by one of the teams or the league office to show up and cooperate. Ezekiel Elliott, 6 years ago, one of the reasons he got suspended 6 games, even though he was never arrested, charged, or sued, is that the ex-girlfriend who made the allegations against him was willing to continuously speak to the NFL. I think there were 6 interviews at the end of the day between the NFL and the individual who made the accusation. She didn't have to talk to the NFL. She chose to. So, 24. How did we get down to 12? It's entirely possible. And the NFL is not going to take out a billboard to tell this to the world because they don't want to expose the biggest flaw in their effort to engage in this rough justice that they try to craft as a PR tool. It could be that 12 of them said we're not cooperating. And it could be that 8 of the 12 that did talk to the NFL said we're not showing up for the hearing. We don't like the questions asked us. Remember, there was a report, it wasn't a report, it was quotes from Tony Busby a year or so ago, complaining about, on behalf of the women who were interviewed, the way that they were treated, the questions they were asked. They didn't think they were sufficiently respected. So you just tap out. I'll get my justice in court. I'm not engaging in your kangaroo court. I'm not required to. You can't make me. It doesn't affect my rights. So that's the problem here. So, look, the appearance that I think it creates is the NFL ultimately believed that there were only 4 valid cases. It's entirely possible that the NFL wanted to put all 24 in front of Judge Robinson, but 20 of them said, go to hell. We're not doing it. And if they say that, there's nothing the NFL can do to make them. Again, that is the biggest problem when it comes to the NFL's power or lack thereof to properly investigate and prosecute players who are accused of off-duty misconduct.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.